Eagles, would you rather? Okay. So this is another Saquon one, but it's more kind of from a big picture Eagles perspective or historical Eagles perspective, I should say. Would you rather 2024 Saquon or 2025 LeSean McCoy? I'm sorry, 2015 LeSean McCoy. And the context here is 2015 is the year the Eagles traded LeSean McCoy. He was at the same stage of his career as Saquon Barkley. He was entering year 7 at that point. He was kind of entrenched as a star on the Eagles offense. Obviously, Chip Kelly moved on from him. There was money consideration, of course, similar to what the Giants were in. There was also kind of, there was like, what's his upcoming future with the team? How much longer can he be at an elite level? Different players, different kind of first 6 years. But which player do you prefer? 2024 Saquon or 2015 LeSean McCoy?
I'm going to take Saquon for one reason only, and that is the situation that they're in. Shady went from a team that was getting worse and was dearly going to miss him the next year, but a team that had, that 2013 team, like, obviously Foles played great, but that they just had some electric players during those years, Shady and Deshaun, and when Macklin was playing well, and even Brent Selleck. He went to a situation in Buffalo, which I don't recall them being as explosive. I remember they played in Philly the next year. Yep. The Eagles won that game. I believe it was in December or whatever. This is the opposite for Saquon, right? He has been the entire offense. I mean, the skill position players. My guy Joe Shane is pointing them out to John Mara. It's not an impressive group, man. It's just not. I mean, freaking Darren Waller retired. Like, he literally pointed him out. He was the first name he pointed out. 2 months later, the guy's not even playing football anymore. And Saquon is going to a loaded roster. So I think that is the main reason I would take him over Shady.
Yeah, I think Shady's the better running back than Saquon. Certainly his first 6 years were better than Saquon's first 6 years. Now Saquon has less total touches than Shady does through 6 years. Of course, that's because Saquon has had more injuries. Shady was healthier. But I like the situation certainly that Saquon's in year 7 than what Shady's situation was in year 7. So we'll never know what LeSean McCoy would have been in Philly if he had 2-3 more years here. I do think he was traded prematurely. I think Chip Kelly made an error in that judgment, an error in judgment there. I think there's a chapter in a book that's coming out in September called The Franchise, where it gets into LeSean McCoy and kind of the way LeSean's career ended here in Philly. But I thought LeSean was the better player than Saquon, but I think Saquon's going to have a better year 7 because I think Saquon's in a better situation. I think Saquon, from like a size, explosiveness perspective, can be special. And I don't think that's been fully realized with the Giants. And I think we'll see more of that in Philly.
I think that's fair. One last thing on Shady. The thing I will say about him, I thought it was interesting that you think he's a better back than Saquon. I don't think that, you looked at the numbers. Without looking at the numbers, I find that, I guess, a little surprising to kind of what my just general perception is. The one thing I will say about Shady, though, I never had more fun watching a running back than him when he was kind of in his prime. It is rare that an NFL running back can make opposing NFL defenders look like Looney Tunes trying to tackle him, just out of the picture with some of those jukes. So I always loved watching that dude run.
Yeah, and it's a good point. Like you're surprised in that statement really brings up kind of the central argument about like Saquon's upside is that in those 6 years in Philly, I only saw LeSean McCoy outside of 2012. I only saw him against a high level. Behind a high-level offensive line, behind a Hall of Fame left tackle in Jason Peters, a Pro Bowl guard in Evan Matton, was quickly becoming a high-level player early in his career. The Eagles consistently had good offensive lines outside of 2012. Even you go back to like early in LeSean McCoy's career, that was a strength of those Andy Reid teams, and they always kind of fortified their line of scrimmage, whereas the Giants have not had that. So when I talk about LeSean McCoy's talent. And by the way, I saw LeSean McCoy in an offense with Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Macklin, right? And you with Michael Vick and then Nick Foles.
So cool.
It's a Donovan McNabb early, so it's a different situation, of course, than what you have with Saquon Barkley. So I would take Shady as a running back for those first 6 years over Saquon's first 6 years, but we haven't seen Saquon in this type of situation, and we only saw Shady really outside of 2012 with really good conditions.
Totally agree.
We all silly like the mayor.